everybody, welcome to American History with Mr. Finn. Today we are continuing our run up to, I might as well just tell you, the American Civil War. We're on our way, but we're getting to around the year 1840 or so. And we've seen a lot of things happen that we have in previous notes, so let me just briefly go over that. We had the Industrial Revolution happening, which means there is machinery, there's factories popping up. This is mostly in the north. In the south, we're continuing with agriculture and farming. We are seeing the beginning of the abolitionist movement, where people are starting to look at slavery and say, maybe this isn't the best thing in the world, shockingly. And there really is becoming a divide between the north and the south. Now, what we're talking about today is going to further that divide. And here is what happens. Beginning around the 1840s, 1850s, you're going to see something. We get our first wave of immigration. So what does that mean? First wave of immigration. And we're going to look at this wave of immigration. Now here's the thing. America, the United States of America, has had several waves of immigration. We call them waves because like a wave just comes in a lot of water over the top. These different waves of immigration are different groups coming to the United States of America. And our first wave of immigration, as far as once the United States is created, is going to be with two groups of people coming from Europe. Let me get, got my eraser. Can't have that. All right, our first wave of immigration are two groups. One are the Germans, German, and the second one is the Irish. Now these are two countries, Germany and Ireland, in Europe, and they're both considered Western European countries today. And so if you were looking at an Irish person or a German person, they wouldn't look incredibly different than, say, an English person, or a French person or someone who was here. They would be considered, you would look and just be like, I don't know. Maybe you are English, maybe you're Irish, maybe you're German, I don't know. You all look similar. However, the difference is going to be in culture. And what does culture mean? People in different places and people who come from different countries and different groups do things in different ways. They might have different religions, they might have different accents, they might have different whatever. And that is all part of your culture. Now, the way that you look is just the way that you look. And so, again, Irish people, German people, English people would all kind of look the same. However, their cultures would be different. Different accents, different languages, different religions, different, stuff like that. And so, there's two things that happen with waves of immigration. Because cultures are different, you have people who are here in the United States, and then a whole bunch of people come here, and the people who are here are like, yeah, there's too many people, this is crazy, we're this wave of people, like all these Irish people, all these German people, it's too much, we can't have this, it's gonna be bad, this is change, right? And change usually is hard for people to accept. So when change happens, people's first instinct is to be scared of it or not like it or be afraid of it. You're just like, this is terrible. And so we see that. We'll see it again and again in our second wave and third wave and fourth wave of immigration, where the people here in the United States are scared of the people coming in for whatever reason. Now, let's take a look at this. Germans. Germany is going to come in because of political issues. And we know this is not German history class, so we're not delving into all of German history. However, what I'll tell you is when I mean political issues, there are people who are trying to get out of Germany, and the place to go is America. That this is America. The United States says, hey, we welcome all people. And so people look at the United States and say, hey, there's a lot of land, I can make my living there, things will be good, let's go to the United States. And so you get millions of Germans leaving because of political problems in their country and saying like, listen, this isn't good. I need to get out. I'm being persecuted, or I could end up dying, or something, like I need to go, and they get out. And so you have a huge group of Germans that come in, and the Germans, where do they go? They come into the east, but a lot go to the Midwest is primarily where they get into. So like places like Pennsylvania, in Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, those are where a lot of the German immigrants are going to settle. Now here is going to be a difference with the Irish. The Irish come in, if I do political issues, potato famine. Okay, so what does that mean? Political issues, pretty easy. New person come in charge, they are persecuting people, and people got to go. Potato famine is a little bit odd. It's a little bit different. You wouldn't think, hey, potato famine, what is that? So to make it quick, the Irish people depended on the potato. They ate potatoes almost like that was their meals for almost everything. And what happens is there's a bacteria, and it ends up killing potatoes, and you cannot eat them. They're ruined, and that is their one source really of food. And so what happens is, if your one source of food is taken away, you have how much food? Zero food. And it's like when you say, oh, potato famine, that seems odd, but it was really a bad time for the Irish because this was their food. So we say potato famine, but imagine millions of people just not having food, and people were dying in a high rate. So we're going to see another couple of million leave Ireland for the same green pastures of the United States. The same thing the Germans were thinking, let's get to the United States. The Irish are like, we have to go. And so they come as well. The difference with the Irish is they're going to stay primarily in the East Coast cities. All right? So East Coast cities, what does that mean? Baltimore, New York, Boston. That's where they're going to be. Now, here's the problem. They're going to be in large cities around a lot of different people. And so they're going to have some more conflict with the people who are already here. So the Irish have a hard time. The Germans go Midwest, and they have their own settlements in these more open rural areas. But we're talking about, let's just keep this in mind, in this first wave, millions of people. Millions of people. Let me see here, real quick. I just want to, it is million. I want to make sure I spelled it right for you because I don't want any misspells. Anyway, millions of people. This is crazy. Imagine if we had a wave of immigration now and you were at school. Imagine we could be at school. And let's just pick a group of people. Let's say people from, I'm looking at a map right now. Let's say Australia, of all places. Let's say one day you come here and you look around, you're like, oh, this is my classroom, these are my classmates, this is great. And then a month from now, there's more Australians in your class than people that you recognize that you were in your class before. You'd be like, wait a second, everything's changed around me and it happened so quickly. So, and again, what I say about change, you might think, oh, this is cool, I'm going to meet some new type of people. However, not everyone thinks that way, and generally people think the opposite. They're like, oh, I don't like these people, this is not my culture, this is different, and whatever. So we're adding millions of people into these cities of the north, on the East Coast, the Midwest, and it's just increasing the just sheer population. So here's really the reason why I bring it up. Cities, population starts to go way up. Because remember, we're in the Industrial Revolution. So where are these immigrants going to go? They're going to go to cities because that's where jobs are in factories that are starting up. And so now you're going to start to see cities that were relatively small start to have like millions of people in them. These are going to be large cities. By the time we get to 1850, 1860, even like 15, 20 years after this first wave of, the 1840s/50s, I'll even put it up here. We're going to get to this as well because this is an important part later. But cities, right? 9 of 10 largest cities in the North. 9 out of the 10 largest cities in the United States are going to be found in the North. All of the people are there. Industrial revolution is taking off. Railroads are sparking up. We're having steamships and canals. The North is changing rapidly. It is changing very quickly. And in the South, it is not. And so things were already splitting, but then this whole wave of immigration comes in, and you start to see, these cities are big cities now. Like, you're looking around. These are not, remember during the revolution, we said New York was, 20,000, 23,000 people, and now New York has, 4 million people in it. Like, this is a huge difference, and remember, that's under 100 years ago. So in under 100 years, you're popping up from like thousands of people to millions of people. And so these cities are starting to look vastly different, so much different than cities in the South. And it's just going to further widen the gap between the North and the South. So the important thing for you as far as quiz goes, just to give you a heads up, I might ask you, name one of the 2 groups that was in our first wave of immigration, star, star, star. I might ask you this because it's very specific. Why did the Irish come to America? Potato famine. How many of the largest cities? That might be on there. So these are just some things to star because I know that I do ask those questions. But the important thing today is to understand this. There are things happening that are making the North and the South different. And it's not just slavery. It's not just that slavery exists, but it is industrialization, waves of immigration, the abolitionist movement, which is slavery, and you have this changing of the country. And a lot of people are starting to look at it like, hey, the South is kind of the South. And are they their own country because they're so different? And is the North their own country? And this idea of, we are so different, how do we coexist? And that's happening. So today, turn in these notes for me for participation and attendance purposes, and we will continue. But the important thing to know is our cities are getting large, and we are running. We're coming full steam into the 1850s and 60s, which means we're going to start to see this conflict come into being. So it's not going to be the greatest of times for the United States of America, but as of now, we will continue. But again, participation and attendance purposes, get these notes into me today, and I will see you next class.